but there's a lot of fire inside me. So when I click into that, it feels sad to say, it feels good, you know.
Killer. Gerry Butler, it's so great to be sitting down with you and have you on Sunrise.
Oh, thank you.
Now, this is the third installment of the Fallen franchise, and it really stands alone, and it has, I feel like, not only more heart, but more action in it. How did you prepare for that pretty intense combat scenes that you have throughout the film?
You know, you just put in the work, and a lot of it is just going, I'm going to take a bit of a beating. And let's get your head down and get on with it. You know, it's like a rugby match or something. You go, okay, here we go. You know, like that New Zealand Maori dance, you know, warrior dance. And also I love it. So it's some of my favorite part is the prepping and the doing of it, you know, because it brings out, you get this fire in you and you go, okay, I remember who I am.
You do it so I mean, it's I know it's you. I know it's you. Sometimes you see some Hollywood leading men and you're like, no, you're getting hair and makeup. I feel like it might be like a childhood dream kind of realized.
It really is a childhood dream, you know, and like I think in some ways I'm a big teddy bear, but there's a lot of fire inside me. So when I click into that, it feels sad to say, it feels good, you know.
Killer. Talking about that, the director has said that your character is really in many ways an extension of you, the man, you know, both the tenderness and then the kind of intensity. How do you feel similar to your character?
Like that. I mean, it's funny because this movie in some ways, even though we had The Fugitive, but it was Rick and I sitting down molding this character, talking about especially about my life and then also the lives of special forces and just armed forces generally and what that does, but really my life, because you could also say, what does this career take out of you? Because it also beats the shit out of you. You also have that addiction to the buzz. What do you do in the in-between? Very similar to what Mike Banning's going through. So we would sit, and I love that about Rick. He says, let's just sit and talk. We'll just sit and talk and then see what bites, what ideas, like, oh, that's, you know, survivor's guilt, or, you know, just what, you know, the PTSD or LTSD as he described it, which is lack of traumatic stress syndrome, where because these guys are so much now, conflicts everywhere. It used to be special forces would be deployed every now and again. They're now all operational pretty much all the time. So when they come back from that, it's like, how is it to not be on? I know I struggle with it when I finish a movie, and that's 1% of what those guys go through.
That's so interesting. Talking about the similarities between your life and your character's life, one of the main themes and relationships in this movie is between you and your father, played by Nick Nolte, who's a Vietnam vet who has been absent from your character's life. And I know that you had quite a complicated relationship with your dad. Can you speak to that?
No, there's so many similarities between myself and Mike Banning, because I also didn't see my father for 14 years. I didn't even know he was alive. And he turned up out of the blue one day, and just before that I'd said to my mom, I'm never going to see Dad again, am I? And she said, no, I don't think you are. And suddenly he was back in my life, and I'm going and spending time with him, spending summers with him, and then he got sick and I went and spent time with him as he died, you know, and that was a very powerful experience. But so I felt a lot of like just watching the movie again. I was like choking up, but everybody does, because I think it's any father-son relationship or parent-child relationship, you know, it touches on so much, not just about abandonment, but about, you know, what are your responsibilities as a child, as a parent, you know. And then also, by the way, not to, because that sounds a bit heavy, our relationship is so fun.
Yes.
I walked into a screening the other night just as that scene started on the hillside when we get attacked, and I haven't heard laughing like that in a cinema in a long time. I got goosebumps, and I was with two friends and they both started punching because we just walked in. It was like, oh my God, they love it.
Isn't that so great? I mean, I remember when you first kind of really came on the scene with Phantom of the Opera, and I knew people who knew you, and it was just real excitement, and you've maintained this incredible career, and talking to you still seem to be fired up by it. Is it surreal coming from Scotland and still being like, wow, how did I end up being a movie star?
You know, that's a good question, because it is. I still pinch myself from time to time. and still think they're going to catch me out and go, ah. But at the same time, and there's a bit of sadness to this, but it was when I stopped doing that so much that I started getting ahead more. It's when I started expecting to be. I worked with this great coach called Larry Moss, and I remember him saying that he was struggling in his life, and then he one day said, "Why haven't I there? Because if not them, then why not me? I could be there," because especially in Scotland, you always have this thing, oh no, they'll be successful and I'll just be.
Yeah, in Australia as well, there's a real similarity there.
Absolutely. So I just started thinking, oh, of course I'll be there. That's my job. Or now I'm going to. So in some ways it took away a bit of the magic, but it definitely helped with that believing and that intention and that imagination. And within that, though, I always try and remind. I have a natural enthusiasm for this. You know, I love making movies. So, but I often. I'm reminded, like even sitting here today, and you got Nick Nolte and Morgan Freeman through there, and people are asking me about working with them, and I go, it's true. I was working with them.
All right, last question.
Okay.
What you are working with two of the greats, Nick Nolte, Morgan Freeman. What did you pick up from them on?
It's so much. I mean, one to have. To me, was a really important thing is when you work with these actors who've been around for so long, is to see how they are with the crew and how they are with other younger actors, and they are such gentlemen, because it would be easy for them to go, I'm old, I'm hurting, I'm bored with being on set all these hours, leave me alone, and they're not like that. They're super cool, and that. I love to see that. I find that very inspiring. But then also to watch them in their performance. I mean, Nick Nolte is giving 100 levels of performance in every moment, and it's really breathtaking to watch. And then, of course, Morgan Freeman is just one of the most talented actors of all time. And I find that there's specific things that you pick up on, but there's also what happens. I've almost learned more through osmosis, just being around good actors, and some of that kind of rubs off on you, and you just become less bad.
Well, you're a lot less bad. You're amazing, and it was a joy to watch, and it's a great film. So congratulations.
Thank you.